My co-authors, Alex Todorov and Howard Kunruther, and I recognize as a sort of potential tension between the way policymakers, the way the government goes about stopping terrorist acts, and how the public may respond to potential terrorist acts. 9/11 essentially spurred a huge change in government policy with regard to anti-terrorism, and in particular the creation of the Department of Homeland Security. And the Department of Homeland Security espouses what we call a normative approach to risk, an approach that balances the outcomes with the likelihoods of particular terrorist attacks, so weighting them against each other. Where policymakers are focused both on the likelihood of attack and its outcome, the public is focused clearly on the outcome. The tendency for the public to be upset about this, or in the case of after an attack, to blame the government for failing, is largely based on the consequence. How severe was the outcome? How emotionally upsetting is the act? And that's what our study showed quite clearly. Now this creates a tension because on one hand the government should be balancing likelihoods and outcomes. On the other hand, the blame that they would experience is only based upon outcomes. Now normally this is not a problem because the government should just act in the best interest of the public, but yet they're also accountable to the public. The public votes them in and may vote them out, and thus these accountability effects may tempt policymakers to focus more on outcomes than likelihoods in a way that actually makes the public less safe. The first response to this, knowing that the public tends to ignore likelihoods when judging the government, may lead the government to just say, well, let's just educate the public about the likelihood of these attacks. Well, there's two problems with that. One is, to the degree that the government tells the public that attacks are more or less likely, that actually gives terrorists valuable information about government policy. And so announcing that information's difficult to do. Further, it's even difficult because once an attack has happened, regardless of whether it was likely or not likely, the public continues to ignore that information. The attack happened. It doesn't matter if it was likely before or not. It's happened. And so they go about, again, judging the government based upon how severe was the attack. A more innovative approach would be to consider making policymakers less accountable. So, for instance, federal judges have terms where even if they make politically or publicly unpopular decisions, they can't be fired for it. So do you give policymakers terms in which they agree to follow particular procedures, and regardless of the outcome of the procedure, as long as the procedure was considered a good one, they don't have to worry about being criticized?